This video is for all my sniper rifle fans. If you're a huge fan of sniper rifles, then you're going to enjoy this video because we're going to be going over the buff that was taking place inside Season 4 for flinch resistance on all the sniper rifles in this game. If you do enjoy this style of content, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Also click that link in the description and subscribe to our second channel. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to be going over pretty much every single sniper, mainly the aggressive ones, let's be perfectly honest, to find out which ones are the best. We kind of know what the best long range snipers are, but I will cover those again quickly at the end of this video. But we're mainly focusing on some stats that have improved the aggressive snipers. So first things first, I want to get into some of the basic stats that I do feel are quite important when it comes to these aggressive snipers. Now I've got pretty much every single one here. Now if you look back in the patch notes for Season 4, these were all the snipers that were listed as the kind of more aggressive sniper rifles, and that is why we put them in this list right here to break them all down. So what we actually want to look at is mainly ADS, bullet velocity, tactical sprint to fire, or you could look at the regular sprint to fire as well, which will obviously be quicker than these numbers here. And then also the damage range, because within that damage range, it's going to be where you get that one shot headshot potential. Anything beyond these damage meters, then you're going to be getting maybe a 2-shot kill or even a 3-shot kill in some cases. Main thing for me here is the sprint to fire as well as ADS times. Now the reason why I say that is because bullet velocity within that kind of first damage range is not really too important, and keep in mind these are aggressive snipers, so you don't really want to be using these anything further than 100 meters anyway, and preferably within their damage range. That would be the most ideal circumstances, but let's be honest, there will be some cases where you need to whip out your sniper rifle at about 100 or maybe 150 meters to get a down, get a finish, kind of more support weapons and not really weapons that are going to down players at longer ranges. And we're looking at the ones that have the fastest possible ADS time, so we'll organize that for fastest ADS. And as you can see here, the Modern Warfare KAR is the quickest ADS gun. Then we've got the Pellington, which is actually a pretty decent gun now overall, to be honest. We've got the Swiss, then the KAR, then Type 99, which is getting pushed a lot in my opinion. We've got the Tundra, the SPR. Now bullet velocity is not all too important, as long as these guns all have over like 1100 bullet velocity, which they pretty much all do. You're going to be hitting your shots fairly consistently for the most part, unless you're trying to use these guns at those kind of farther ranges. I don't really know why you would want to, because you're not really going to be getting much damage anyway, but if you do want to, then some of the better weapons are going to be the SPR, the Tundra, and then the Vanguard KAR as well is pretty solid at those longer ranges. But again, it's not really too important. The Pellington's also up there too. Then we're looking at the tactical sprint to fire as well. So again, we're going to arrange this for the fastest possible. So now we've got the Vanguard KAR, the Type 99, the Modern Warfare KAR, SPR, Pellington, Swiss and Tundra, which all have the exact same tactical sprint to fire time. Now why this is important is because it also kind of factors in on how quick you get your gun down to get that shot off. And as you can see, they've kind of balanced these weapons, so some of the ones that have the faster ADS have the slower sprint to fire, and some of the ones that have the slower sprint to fire have the faster ADS. So obviously it's going to kind of match up and kind of be very equal when it comes to practical in-game ADS times. Now the only ones that kind of sit middle of the pack here are going to be the Vanguard KAR as well as the Modern Warfare KAR. Both of those guns have a decent ADS time. Well, the Modern Warfare KAR has the best ADS time, but then it also has a decent sprint to fire, but then the Vanguard KAR has the best sprint to fire. So those are the ones that are kind of going to be the snappiest for aiming down sight. So if that's what you're mainly looking for, then the Vanguard KAR and the Modern Warfare KAR will be the best two options. And then obviously on top of that, the Vanguard KAR has the best damage range possible out of all of these with the meta build. So this is going to be with the meta build. So in my opinion, the Vanguard KAR is going to be the best option for snappiness. So the next thing I want to show you is the flinch on these aggressive snipers. Now we tested 4 different weapons and I'll quickly talk through them as I show you on screen just now. So first of all, we have the Swiss, and as you can see, we're getting shot and we're taking some damage, and you can see the flinch isn't as bad as it was after it got nerfed, so they definitely fixed the flinch. The next is the Modern Warfare KAR, and it looks very similar to the way it was on Verdansk. I'm obviously slowing these down as well so you can see them a bit easier. The one that I want to point out a bit more substantially here is actually the Pellington, because the Pellington was one of the worst guns for flinch possible, and now you can see is actually a pretty solid gun when it comes to flinch resistance. So you can definitely see a huge change when it comes to the Pellington, and we can also see the Vanguard KAR as well here. When it gets slowed down, you can see that you can still land shots with all of these sniper rifles whilst you're taking damage. I'll cycle through that one more time so you can see it back, but like I said, this is going to make it a lot easier to land those shots, especially in those close range engagements, and it's going to make these sniper rifles a bit more viable in the circumstances which in what they were made for, which is aggressive sniping. So you can still get that one-shot headshot potential, you can still use it in that below 50-meter range, and you will definitely land your shots as well. Not only to mention that the kind of main sniper rifles, or the heavy snipers, also got a slight flinch resistance buff as well, which is pretty decent. But I mean, at those longer ranges, it's not all that important because people are not really going to see where you're actually sniping from, whereas when you're point blank range with these snipers, is very important. Before we get into the builds for the 4 best snipers, I do want to give a quick honorable mention to the HDR. It's a very easy gun to use. You've got good damage range, good bullet velocity, and overall just easy to use for most people, and you will get that one-shot headshot out to infinity range. A lot of people are very used to using this weapon, so that's why it has become a meta gun, but I don't think it's the best guns in the game, whereas the other 4 are definitely going to be a much better option in my opinion. Starting off this list at number 4, and we have a no-brainer sniper right here, which is the ZRG sniper rifle. Now this gun has the best bullet velocity, the best bullet drop, the best pretty much everything other than ADS time, because it is kind of one of those heavy sniper rifles. But overall, if you're trying to shoot on caldera at super long ranges, then the ZRG is a sniper rifle you do want to be using, and plus you get that one-shot headshot and out to infinity range as well. So obviously you want to use the wrap suppressor for the sound suppression, recoil control, bullet velocity, damage range, combat recon barrel as well for the best possible bullet velocity, 5mm laser for the better ADS times, 5-round mags for the ammo capacity, and then the serpent wrap. You could also use the bruiser grip for better aiming stability if you need it, but most people would opt for the 5-round mag in this case. If you want a slightly faster ADS on the ZRG, you could definitely remove the 5-round mags and go for the Royal and Cross 6x optic, which will definitely be pretty solid to get slightly snappier ADSs, and that way you should be able to get shots off a bit quicker. If you're going to maybe use this for the Fortune's Keep map, for example, this is probably a good way to build the weapon. And number 3 is a gun that I never thought would be meta in this game, and it's definitely better than a lot of the other options that are available to you, and it's better than the Swiss right now in my opinion by far and away. It's got better bullet velocity, better ADS times, and sprint to fire times just overall feels a lot snappier in my opinion. And on top of that, with that flinch buff, it's absolutely insanely good right now, and that flinch buff was all this gun needed to be meta, and now that it's got it, this gun is absolutely solid right now. But every bit of testing you saw earlier in this video, so with all the numbers in the Excel spreadsheet and even with that flinch test, was all with this build right here. So wrap suppressor, combat recon barrel for the bullet velocity, 5mm laser for the aim down sight, 7-round mag, and serpent wrap. So all the testing was done with this build, but if you want to make this gun even better, in my opinion, and especially for aggressive players anyway, I would take off the wrap suppressor, use the sound moderator. Now, it's going to give you the sound suppression still. You're still going to get a better ADS time, which gives you a 347 millisecond ADS time, which is about 30 milliseconds faster than the wrap suppressor build. It's going to give you still very decent bullet velocity. This gun actually had one of the better bullet velocities from the Excel spreadsheet, and it brings the bullet velocity down to 1,135 meters per second, which is still very good if you compare it to some of the other weapons on the list, and it gives you a better sprint to fire time as well. And overall, this is going to be an extremely solid gun when it comes to aggressive sniping. Now, it also does con your damage range as well, so you're not going to get those one-shot headshot potential up to 47 meters. It's going to be now 43 meters, but that is not really a huge difference, to be honest. It's still around about that 40 meter mark and around about the distance you should be using it, but on top of that, you're going to get a faster ADS time, which is going to help you tremendously. At number 2 and number 1, we had the 2 guns I mentioned earlier. So number 2 is the Modern Warfare KAR98K. Now, the build pretty much hasn't really changed. The only thing I want to make sure to let you know is you want to make sure you're using the fastest possible ADS build on this gun. Now, obviously, because the flinch got a buff, you don't really need to use like the focus perk or anything like that. It's not really going to help anymore. And even if it does help, it's only going to help like a tiny amount. But the main reason why this gun feels good and feels snappy is because of the ADS build you get. So you want to use the sport comb for the ADS speed, sniper scope, of course, don't use the variable scope, tac laser, the 27.6-inch barrel, which is the longest barrel. Now, this is the only attachment that doesn't help with ADS time, and then the mono suppressor, of course, for the damage range bonus, which we do need on this weapon, unfortunately. But overall, definitely still a solid gun. The flinch makes it obviously a lot better to use aggressively now. Personally, I would prefer the Pellington over this, but I do think people are just going to go back to this weapon just because of nostalgia, and just overall they've probably leveled it up a bit more. And last but not least, a number one, and without a doubt in my opinion the best aggressive sniper in this game right now, and of course it's going to be a Vanguard gun. So we've got the Vanguard KAR98. Definitely a very solid sniper. It's got good ADS, good sprint to fire, overall good bullet velocity as well, and on top of that, the flinch, as you've seen in the testing, is non-existent too. So for the build, you want to use the SD silencer, which is the one that helps with the damage range and the sound suppression and all that good stuff. We've got the VDD barrel, which is the one that helps with the upper extremities damage. This is the one that's going to give you the better damage profile, so you want to make sure you're using this. The 5x telescopic actually gives you a slightly faster ADS time. Personally, I just don't like the optic itself, so I would personally just stick for the standard optic, or you can go for the 4 to 8x if you want. But just to let you know, it does give you a slightly faster ADS if you go for the 5x telescopic, so it's just personal preference there. Personally, I would just go for the standard optic, and that is the one I did the testing with. And then we've got the short stock, which is going to give you the fastest possible ADS and sprint to fire. You can go for shrouded, you can go for quick scope, you can go for fleet as well, pretty solid for movement speed with a sniper. So all of these are pretty solid options. It's just going to depend on what you value more. Personally, I would value more in movement speed, but some people do like having no scope glint. So, I mean, the trade-off's up to yourself there. On hand's going to give you that faster ADS, so make sure you go for on hand. Fabric grip, again, for ADS and sprint to fire. Definitely a solid perk here. This is probably the one that's helping it the most when it comes to ADS. Clouser 5 rounds. This is just going to help with reload quickness, really. It doesn't really do anything else. But you might as well get a faster reload because you're not getting any cons. Lengthen for the bullet velocity, and then the pistol grip, which now actually helps with ADS time. It never did before, but now it does, so it's definitely a solid option to use, because a lot of the snipers from Vanguard never had an ADS helping attachment when it comes to underbarrels, but now they do. So I mean, this is definitely a solid build, and overall this is the best aggressive sniper in the game. So there we have it. We like to keep you updated on what is the best sniper meta in the game at the moment, and we went over some of the 4 best sniper rifles to use. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link and subscribe to our second channel. Thank you very much for watching.